dryness, what is the option or the solutions for that?
Well, it depends on if there are some rare cases where sometimes they've put in some herbs.
Which is put in some herbs.
Herbal,
excuse me.
Some ladies, especially in the rural areas, insert some herbal
into their vagina.
Yes.
Why would they do that? To make
the place tighter, especially after childbirth. That's what they believe.
Does that work?
It doesn't work, and it leads to problems because keeping the place tighter is you have to do some Kegels exercises.
Yeah, just squeeze like when you're peeing, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, that helps with that and general exercising. But they insert some herbs, and these herbs destroy what we call glands. Some glands that lubricate the area can destroy these glands. Therefore, lubrication becomes a problem. In a case like that, we'll have to rely on
jelly.
Gel, water-based gels, lubricants to use. Okay, but if it's a problem of stimulation, then we need to know that the woman has to be ready before even the foreplay. She has to be in a good state of mind, less stress, etc., and so on, before the foreplay begins. And this will then put all the systems together to lubricate. Because when getting to the act, it's not only the genital area that we all think about, but the brain has a role to play, the nerves, the heart has a role to play before you come to the genital area. So all this has to be taken into consideration. So basically, the woman just have to have a free mind. She should be happy, relaxed before the act, and then during the stimulation, that can help with the lubrication. But if all that is ignored, then the lubrication may not happen. There might be dryness, and penetration will be painful, and then she'll have a bad experience, and that will prevent her or turn her off next time that she's going to get into the act. Yeah.
All right, but look, we live in a society where we're told not to talk about sex. Sex is almost like you keep it undercover, but yet we know people are having it. So in terms of an issue maybe where you have, and I know it's often a common complaint, I hear some women say that, well, my man just comes and he lies on top of me, does his thing, and he finishes. In a situation like that, maybe where the female is even afraid to broach the subject up, like, I don't enjoy this. I hear there's some women, they won't even speak up to their partner. How would you advise them, and at least in terms of speaking up to get these problems resolved?
I know sometimes it's very difficult to say this to their men. I mean, it's very difficult. They don't know what the men will say. If they can get in a therapist to help, a health worker, and a health workers, they are therapists who are trained in this area, who can help, who can call the couple together and talk to them about it. Some of the men have very little knowledge about these things, get into marriage, and do not want to learn. They don't want to read books, and even sometimes the ladies may suggest some solutions, but they don't want to hear about it. So if a therapist can come in, educate the two, that can go to a large extent. Otherwise, you're pushing a woman away, and she may be having it somewhere else to satisfy her needs. So getting a therapist in will help, and the easiest way to start maybe to get to a nurse or a doctor or pharmacist who can direct you to the right quarters, who to see and talk. And then the therapists are trained. They will look at the attitude of the two towards this act. They will maybe go into the man's background, the woman's background, and realize where there's lack of knowledge, and then teach. If there are medical issues, then that has to be sorted out. These things are not things that cannot be handled. They can be handled. It depends on the attitude of the two, how to work together, how to sort out the issues, and then it can be handled. Yeah.
Okay, now I know painful intercourse is also a major issue for a lot of females. Can it be completely cured if you're somebody you suffer from painful intercourse? I know there's usually varying reasons for each one, but can it be cured essentially?
Well, it depends on what is caused. If we come to the medical causes, as I said, if it's like a mass, there's a fibroid, or the ovary has grown, or there's cancer there, or there's a scar, and it can be treated medically, it can. If it's going to be very difficult to treat it medically, then that's going to be a challenge, and then the therapist will have to come in and suggest other means where they can enjoy it despite the existence of that problem. But if it's psychological, then psychotherapy will have to come in, and then they have to be taken through counseling. For instance, the vaginismus, as we mentioned, could be that the woman she was raped or sexually molested or defiled when she was young, or having a very bad experience. So anytime a man is coming near her, that comes to the mind, and then the entrance of the vagina tends to tighten up, therefore affecting penetration. So this person has to be taken through psychotherapy, to try to get a mind of that, to leave the past in the past. And then
is it advisable then for, I guess, couples to have very open sexual discussions about your past? Because I'm sure maybe there are some females who have had past sexual trauma, but yet their current partners or their husbands do not know about it, and they may think, well, I'm the problem, I cannot arouse my wife or my girlfriend. But yet, would you advise females who have been through this to have that discussion? And because some people are also afraid of being judged if they kind of reveal that maybe I was raped or whatever it is.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. You are right. Communication is very key in this. Communication is very key. So they need to be open about, past sexual experiences, and so that they know how to enjoy into the future. So communication is very key in this. The woman has to know the man's past, the man has to know the woman's past, and know how to move from there. If there are some challenges in both parts, it has to be sorted out. If it's kept as a secret, it could affect the marriage. Sometimes some ladies have to pretend that they are having orgasm, and some of the men detect it. Some don't detect, but some detect that the woman is pretending. So to avoid all these issues, it's better to be open about the past, to communicate freely what the issue is, and find a solution.
As well. Okay, I have a message on Twitter here from Julian Brooks. He says, Doctor, please, how will I know, or how would a person know or identify the problem? Now, this is quite interesting because a lot of times, maybe if the woman is not vocal and the man is thinking, yeah, I'm doing the best, but yet there's a clear problem. What are some of the clear signs that maybe the males can look out for, even you as a woman, see, something is not right here?
A therapist will have to come in and look at exactly what the issues. You mean?
No, just you yourself, because sometimes some people know there's something wrong, but they're not exactly even sure what it is. There's some key things that maybe during sex that you should think, this is not really right. Maybe I should seek medical professionals' help.
Well, ideally, during the foreplay, the woman especially must be relaxed. Okay, so if there are issues on her mind, or she's tired, or she's bored, or not interested, or being forced into it, that may be a warning sign that it may not go on well. Okay, and when the act has started and she's not getting wet or moist or lubricated at the vaginal area, and that's a sign that the stimulation or the foreplay is not working. Okay, so when that goes on to the next phase, then it's going to be painful, and it's not likely that she could climax or have orgasm. Okay, so these are signs that can be spotted from the beginning. So basically, you must be relaxed before the thing starts. Stimulation must lead to wetness or moisture or lubrication, and then it goes on and then climaxes, and then there's resolution. Yeah. So along the line, if these signs are not spotted, then there is an issue. But most of it, as I said, is psychological. If there are just issues on the mind, then this phase is going to be very difficult to go through. Yeah.
Okay. A lot of times too, I know you have the interactions with your patients. How often do you get them coming back to you and say, Doctor, we listened to what you recommended after they've sort of had, whether therapy with yourself or whatever they've been through? How often do you get success stories?
Well, a few come back, but issues with success stories, sometimes you see them when there's a problem. If they're okay with it, you don't see them again. So it's difficult to tell this percentage is a success rate and so. But if you come back and say, "Oh, this is what worked," but some don't come back, so you don't know whether it worked or not. But as I said, normally in Ghanaian hospital practice, when they say come for checkup, you don't see the patient again and it's most likely he or she is well. If there's a problem, she comes back to you. Yeah, but if you come back and say that it works, because these are things that are scientifically proven. It's a human body. It works with systems, and you know where to intervene to make the system work. So it's nothing strange. It's scientifically proven. So if you can identify and put in the right techniques and measures, it would work.
Okay, I also want to kind of throw a spanner in the works of some women could maybe with their current partner can never orgasm, but yet they know that with their previous partner things were always cool. So if they're in a situation like that, is it usually then your current partner's fault if you're not able to orgasm, but yet you know that, well, hey, I was with this guy how many years ago and we never had any issues, I never had any issues, then is it usually then the problem with the man you're with now?
It's possible, but as I said, it takes two to have this done. So it's a combination of the two, not exactly the problem with one. It's the two that has to work. So in a case like this, they have to be counseled together to see where the issue is. Probably with the previous partner, pressures of life. There was no child, everything was okay. But now that she's married, even though she's with a present partner, there are other issues around, maybe the work schedule, child coming in, finance issues, and so on, that is impinging on the sex life. So it may not be the man per se, but maybe issues surrounding it. So in a case like this, when you counsel them together, then you can spot out where the issues are. Okay. They'll talk freely about their past, talk freely about the present, then you know where the issues are.
Okay, Doc, I'm almost out of time on this, but I think the last thing I would ask you is, in our society where most people will not go to a doctor for sexual problems, where we'll probably talk to our friend, we'll talk to even the lady that sent the email said, my mom says it's normal. Is that also sometimes dangerous because our friends or our mothers may not know it all? Where else is it good to maybe seek out Google, or if you can't get to a doctor, what advice would you give to people?
Well, they can read a lot. I mean, especially when people get married, it's good that they read about sexuality. They can read. Now there's a lot of stuff on the internet and so on, but some of the stuff on the internet is westernized. It's not kind of adapted to our society. So sometimes to seek help, or they can talk to people, who work in our Ghanaian society, African society,
who understand.
Yeah, because for instance, some of the things on the net you see would advise you to use toys and gadgets, etc., for arousal and so on. Yeah,
which is not so common in our society.
Yes, and which medically is not really necessary to use gadgets, but people get pleasure in all those things. So you may go onto the net and they may advise you to do that. So reading a lot about sexuality is very, very important. One needs to read, need to understand the woman's body, need to know how the woman's body arouses slower than the man. Therefore, you should know how to go about it. So reading, education, knowledge is very important. These are some of the factors that lead to the problems. So if sometimes when you talk to a friend or a relative, they may share with you bad experiences which will not help. So reading on your own helps, or you talk to a trained therapist who can take you through the issues. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Andrew Kwesi Kumar from the Eden Family Clinic in Kaneshie, Accra.